The only thing you could do is pray for them because she's gone and there's no bringing her back. But she still has a family that's here on earth living that are going to mourn from this. And the only thing we can do is pray. Thanks, guys.
Jon Jones, and many who believe, including me, that he's the best of all time, you know, for the heavyweight championship. And Jon Jones has been willing and ready and able to fight anybody. He didn't care who it was. Could have been anybody in the heavyweight division. He was ready to go. And Francis, we offered Francis a deal that would have made him the highest paid heavyweight in the history of the company. More than Lesnar, more than anybody. And he turned the deal down. So, you know, I don't know, you know, we get to this point where I've told you guys this before. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. You know, I think Francis is in a place right now where he doesn't want to take a lot of risk. Feels like he's in a good position where he could fight lesser opponents and make more money. So we're gonna let him do that. We're gonna release him from his contract. We're gonna give up our right to match, and he can go wherever he wants and do whatever he wants. Yeah, that's where we're at.
When was that decision made, Dana? How long have you known that this was going to be the case, that Francis was gone?
Well, we've been negotiating with him for 2 years, you know, and there were a lot of different, you know, even now. I mean, the guy was just weighing over 300 pounds. Just had knee surgery, hasn't really had a real training camp. And I think that probably has a lot to do with it as far as Francis is concerned too. You know, he doesn't know what's going to happen with his knee, how his knee, you know, he's not getting younger. So, you know, we can't continue to hold up the division and not come to an agreement with this guy. We did everything we could to try to make this fight happen and try to give him the fight, but you know, he's got it in his head that there's bigger opportunities outside the UFC with, you know, lesser opponents.
And did this just come down to a dollar figure? I mean, or was it like other things, like,
no.
I want a bigger portion of pay-per-view?
No, I think that you're going to fight arguably the greatest fighter of all time. You'd be the highest paid heavyweight ever in UFC history. Or you think there's more money out there to fight somebody who isn't the greatest of all time, somebody who is a lesser opponent. I mean, you'll have to ask Francis that question, but in my opinion, that's what it is. Which isn't the first time that's happened here. It's not like this is something that's never happened before. There's been other guys that have come to us and said, you know, I don't want to compete at this level anymore.
Did you get the feeling that he was negotiating in good faith or just really didn't want to be here at all?
I don't know. No, I mean, I doubt he'd just hang out for 2 years and continue to negotiate, and, you know, I don't know. I don't think he thought the Jon Jones fight would really happen. That's what I think. I think he didn't think that would really come to fruition, but it did. Jon Jones was literally ready to fight anybody. He didn't care who it was. And we could have done a fight with Jon back in, you know, October, November, December, and we kept, you know, we kept trying to get this deal done with Francis, and then finally it just, you know, we got to the realization that it wasn't going to happen.
So the last thing for me on that, so just to be clear, 100% free and clear. He could sign a contract with anybody in the world tomorrow. No matching, no counter, no nothing. He's just gone.
100%. And this is, you know, this is for the official heavyweight title.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you about that. I mean, not the fight we were expecting, but I think when people saw it, people did get pretty excited. What's your thoughts on, you know, Jones versus Gane?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you have, you know, if you look at the fight with Francis and Cyril, it was a damn close fight. So there's no doubt that those two guys are the best heavyweights in the world. And for Jon to come out and face either one of them is, exciting. It's fun.
Did want to ask you about Sean Strickland tonight, obviously coming in kind of saving the main event on short notice. What did you think of his performance? I mean, he's kind of an interesting character.
He's a bad boy. Coming in and taking a fight on a week's notice is impressive. Yeah, it's awesome. You look great.
Last thing for me, I guess I just want to ask kind of where you stand, the continued fallout of everything that's happened. Are you know, I'm sure you've seen the reaction or what everybody's saying. I mean, are you...
About what?
About the New Year's Eve incident. Have you moved past it at this point? Do you feel like you're going to have to keep addressing this every time you're up here at the dais, or do you feel like...
I'll probably be addressing it for the rest of my life, you know. I mean, I just talked about it, 2 days ago? Yeah.
Dana White over here.
Yeah.
David Potter, good seeing you again. So what was your overall assessment of the entire evening? Is there any fighters that stood out to you at this fight night?
The Kopylov-Puna fight was awesome. Awesome fight. I think Puna is so tough and durable and has a ton of heart, and Kopylov looked incredible tonight. I mean, you guys were out there. Every fucking jab that he landed was nasty. That inside leg kick to the calf was nasty. And then once he's got unbelievable killer instinct. Once he smelled blood in the water with that body shot, he just kept attacking the body until he finished the fight. Yeah. Incredible performance.
And the John Jones fight versus Gane is actually fairly interesting. I mean, they bring up a fair amount of problems to each other. What's your personal assessment on that fight? Yeah,
I agree. You know, both incredibly talented guys. Cyril Gane is a heavyweight that moves like a middleweight. He's got a really well-rounded game, and you know, John Jones is the best to ever do it, in my opinion. So you couldn't ask for a better fight.
Congratulations on another great evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Dana, going on the John Jones is the best ever in your opinion, do you think if he comes back after 3 years away and wins a title in another division, there's no denying to anyone that he's probably the greatest?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in ring rust. I mean, Ali took 3 years off and didn't look the same when he came back. We'll see what happens with John. One of the things that you know, John has put the weight on naturally, though. He didn't do it overnight. It's taken a long time, and he's ready to roll. He's excited to fight, so we'll see what happens.
With the T-Mobile thing, how does that happen? Like, how did they put that up early? Who made the mistake there?
Well, you got to blame, you know, my team internally too, and T-Mobile. I don't know what was said. You know, I was very, very pissed off a few hours ago, and I'm over it now.
I was going to say, do you still get pissed off about that stuff, or does it just like...
Yeah, no, I still get pissed, yeah. I was very pissed off.
I'm just curious, what's happening with Stipe Miocic? There was always this talk of him versus John, and obviously John's fighting Cyril. Where's Stipe? Is he retired?
Yeah, Stipe's still obviously very much in the mix, and but he's going through some stuff right now that he's dealing with. The timing just didn't work for him.
You mentioned Francis wants to go fight lower opponents. Are you expecting him to sign with another MMA organization, or do you think he might try and go box?
Who? Francis? I have no clue. I have no clue. Listen, whatever he decides to do, it's been fun while he's been here. I wish him the best. It's all good.
I know you guys always think you can get these deals across the line, but were you particularly surprised that Francis just didn't seem to want to stick around? Were you surprised as you were negotiating with him, like, man, this guy just doesn't seem to want to be here?
I don't know. You know, it happens. He's the second guy that we couldn't come to a deal with. You know what I mean? Now it's him and Fedor. So, you know, we did everything we could to get him to take the deal. I think Hunter went to 350 dinners with him. You know, did what we could do, and it just didn't work out.
Everyone always talks about the Fedor offer on this mystery island or whatever. Who would have got the better deal, Francis or Fedor?
Did what?
Who would have got the better deal from you, Fedor or Francis?
That's funny. That's a good question. Yeah, it would probably have to be Francis. I mean, the deal that was being offered to Francis would have made him the highest paid guy in heavyweight history. And when you think about Brock Lesnar, guy did 1 million buys every time he fought. So, big number, big money.
Right here.
Yeah.
Where would you rank the Francis John fight that didn't happen? Where would you rank that in fights that we never got to see in the UFC, up there with like the Habib Tonys and everything?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been fun to see Fedor versus Brock at the time that we tried to make it. You know, and you know, this is a fun fight too. But so was Cyril Gane. So it wasn't like we were like, you know, we wanted to make the Fedor Brock fight, but we ended up making this fight that was just, you know, The fight that we have now is incredible.
Dana, what was it that Francis wanted above and beyond? I mean, you offered him more than any other fighter would.
Yeah, well, like I said, what I think he wanted is I think that he's, this guy's worked hard, and he feels like he's in a position right now to fight lesser competition for more money. I think he doesn't want to take the risk. You're going in against John Jones, the best of all time, and at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with that. He can do that. Just not what we do here. It's not what we do here. The best fight the best here. There's plenty of places where you can go do that, and that's where he'll end up. He'll end up somewhere where somebody will, throw some money at him, and he's going to fight fights that he thinks he can win.
Would he have taken that deal if he didn't have to fight John Jones? Was he picking?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Was it a requirement for John Jones to fight for the title for his debut at heavyweight?
No, this is what John wanted. John's been talking about this forever. So this wasn't our thing. This was a John thing.
I mean, but Jones would have came in even at heavyweight.
No, John was willing to fight anybody. He was willing to fight anybody. So you're asking me, would he only fight heavyweight for the title? No. He was willing to fight anybody. He didn't care. He literally didn't care who it was on the roster, and not for the title. He was willing to fight anybody.
And then it seemed like we thought that John was going to come back in December and fight Ngannou. Did John Jones agree to fight Ngannou at that time when everybody thought that was?
100%. John Jones wanted to fight Ngannou. You guys are going to have plenty of opportunity to talk to John, and John's very confident that he would have ripped through Francis Ngannou. That's how he feels. That was a easy fight for him.
Have you had a peek at how John looks at that weight, at the heavyweight?
No, I haven't seen him. No. Just his face in interviews.
One more right here.
Yeah.
Is there any update on the co-main event to that fight card? Because Aljamain and Henry Cejudo seem to be doing matchmaking for each other, and then Aljamain said his bicep is hurt, and now Henry Cejudo.
The co-main event for this fight?
No, for the pay-per-view in March under John Cyril.
Yeah, no, not right now. I don't. I told you guys where you heard Leon Edwards and Usman is finalized, and then Gaethje and Fiziev are the co-main event for that fight.
So Leon
in London.
Leon and Kamaru was finalized for that one?
Yes, done. All those fights are done. All four of those fights are done. I mean, both of those fights are done.
Dana?
Yeah.
Back here. Before John had took his time off, he was kind of looking for a new contract as well, and he was kind of going back and forth. Did he get a new contract, or is he under the same contract?
Jones signed a new 8-fight deal.
Mm-hmm. And then with Francis,
good question. I forgot to tell you
that. He really wanted to box. Was that offered in his contract?
Who did?
Francis Ngannou wanted to box.
No, nobody's getting boxing in their contracts here. No.
And then, are you guys going to New York in April?
Probably.
And then finally, Umar Nurmagomedov looked very good tonight.
Very good.
With his knockout, is it just a matter of time before you guys put a rocket ship to his back and kind of have him fight top 5?
He actually wanted to come back and talk to me tonight after the fight. We talked, and he's like, I'm ready. He's going home for a week, and then he's coming back here, and he said he's ready for anything. Anything that we bring to him, he's ready. He's ready for anything. So I love that attitude, and, I'm excited about that kid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Dana.
Hey.
Do you think he's ready for March 4th? He wants to fight on that card here in Vegas.
Who does?
Umar.
Yeah? Does he?
Yeah.
You're saying he does want to fight on that card?
That's what he was saying.
Yeah, well, he's coming right back a week after, he's leaving for a week and coming back. And he told us he's ready for anything. Yeah.
Is there room for him
We'll probably turn him around quick. When guys want to turn around quick, I love that. It's just about finding the right opponent. There's a lot of fights that are already happening in that division. But you have to think, too, that some will probably fall out because it happens. So I don't know. You know what I always say. I don't make fights after the fight, but Tuesday we'll start looking at it.
If the UFC was prepared to make Ngannou the highest paid heavyweight in history to fight John Jones, was a similar offer made to Cyril Gane?
Did the offer get made to Cyril's under contract?
Yeah, but has he got a similar offer to fight John Jones?
Has he got what?
A similar offer to fight John Jones?
No, he has a deal. Cyril Gane has a deal. Francis Ngannou did not.
Okay. And I love the fight. I think it's a great headline for Vegas. But you said, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, with regard to John Jones, that Las Vegas isn't good for him, and because of like previous misdemeanors. Do you think it will be good for him on March the 4th?
Oh, yeah. And what do I think about it? I still think the same thing. Yeah, I agree that it's not good.
Hey, Dana, to your right over
Yeah.
there. I guess looking back on the whole Francis situation, do you have any regret, or do you feel like this was kind of always how it was going to end, regardless of any kind of?
No, I didn't think this is how it was going to end. I thought we'd eventually come to a deal with him, but we didn't. You know, I don't have any regrets. Hunter might, but I don't.
This week is Slap. I guess how are you feeling 4 days out? Obviously, the circumstances have changed a little bit with the incident that happened. How are you feeling about the launch of this thing that you said that you've been planning for years?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling good. I mean, I haven't really thought of it. We'll really start hitting it hard tomorrow. But yeah, I feel good. I think that it's insanely entertaining, and I think people are going to like it.
Has your involvement or your presence within the show itself, has that changed at all after what happened?
No, everything's the same.
Everything's the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
We pushed it back a week because I was supposed to come back and do like this whole media tour, which obviously wasn't going to happen when I got back. So
That was the reason for the delay of the media tour.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it ever in jeopardy, or how close was it in jeopardy to not airing?
What do you mean?
Just not airing completely, like the TBS just didn't want to put it on anymore. Was that ever a possibility?
No.
No. Okay. And then since you spoke on Wednesday, you said, don't defend me and I deserve anything that people say. I think the narrative now has changed over the last few days that Dana White has apologized now. But the main criticism is that he didn't face any professional repercussions. And you did speak on that on Wednesday, but now I want to ask you, since you've had a few days now, and that's sort of been the big takeaway, that what message does that send about domestic violence, that a president of a company would get away, and you're talking about repercussions in your personal life, but people are talking about repercussions in a professional life. Is there any thoughts that you have? Or
The only thing that matters is my personal life. What else is there?
Well, I think the people who are
Who are
talking
what?
about it, the narrative, say that
Yeah.
there has to be there should be some professional consequence.
Okay, so what should it be?
No one seems to really have an opinion on that. They just.
I hear you.
So my final question is: had Endeavor came to you and said, "Hey, we do think that you should that we need you to step away for 30 days, 45 days, 6 months, whatever it was," what would your reaction have been to that? Had Endeavor asked that?
I told you I was going to leave in 2016 with the sale. Could have sat out during COVID. What should my punishment be?
Yeah. I guess.
And you say there's going to be repercussions in your personal life, but none in your professional life. But what matters other than my personal life?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Nothing matters except for my personal life. This is great. Love doing it. Don't have to do it.
Thank you.
Yep.
I've just got one last one. What's happening with Khamzat Chimaev? He says that he's been offered 4 fights in different countries and everything. Do we have a plan for Khamzat?
What's the question?
What's happening with Khamzat?
Yeah, I don't know. We're working on him. We're trying to figure him out right now. There's nothing to report on him right now. We got to figure that out. Good? Thank you, guys.
So I imagine this is kind of a weird moment for you, right? Your teammate just lost, so I'm sure you're a little upset, but we know you're fighting for the title against John Jones. So what's the emotions that you're feeling right now?
Yeah, big balance. Yeah. At first, I'm really sad. I'm really a little bit frustrated, but we knew that already. This guy is really hard to fight. He's not orthodox. You understand? And anyway, I'm still happy. Because we had a good news today, and let's go to see forward.
So how did this all happen? I mean, we saw like you tweet, looking for John Jones. So I mean, what was the timeline and how did this all come together?
I'm not sure.
Peut-être que où est John Jones et tout, et puis finalement la nouvelle, comment ça s'est passé?
But yes, we did it because the situation. Everybody knows the situation with Francis, John Jones. So okay, we're gonna wait. How long? How many times we're gonna wait? So hey guys, we are here. So that's why we did it, and I think it was a great decision because you see, 24 hours after, we got a great news. So yeah. I'm really happy. I'm really happy.
I mean, what are your initial thoughts of John Jones as a fighter? I mean, he wasn't in your division, but I mean, is it a guy that you watched coming up and saw his legacy?
Qu'est-ce que tu penses de John Jones? Tu l'as vu grandir, qu'est-ce que son héritage, qu'est-ce que tu en penses?
I'm really young in the MMA. Everybody know I started there a few years ago, and before that, I was really not in the MMA. So. And yes, when I started to watch this, of course, John Jones was one of my favorite fighters because, and more when I started really the MMA because I'm really fan of every sport in the MMA. And when you look at guys like John Jones with a well-rounded like this, you really appreciate. So that's why. And he's a GOAT. He's a GOAT. Look his career. So yes, today. I'm a young fighter, and I think it's the dream of every young fighter, fight against a GOAT. This is really crazy for me, really.
Is any part of you upset that you won't get to face Francis again?
Est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose qui t'énerve que tu ne vas pas affronter Francis
No, I'm not like that. Maybe 3 days after the fight against Francis, after the loss, I look forward, I look to the future. I'm like that.
Last thing for me, I guess, what are your plans, right? You're in Vegas. You're going to fight in Vegas in a few weeks. Do you still go back to France and train? Do you stay here? What's the plan?
Yeah. I got a family. I got a wife. I got a daughter. So it's not possible to stay 2 months far to my family because I need it. And yes, all of my gym, all of my sparring partner, and because I have all in France in my gym. So yeah, we're going to go back tomorrow morning and straight to the camp.
So, right. It's no secret the last few fights John has been very close, but even though they were a long time ago. Do you think he might have gotten bored at light heavyweight knowing that he was maybe more talented than his opponents, and that's why he didn't perform like he used to do?
On sait que les derniers combats de Jones étaient un peu serrés comme décision. Est-ce que tu penses que c'est parce qu'il s'est ennuyé qu'il a décidé qu'il avait cette mauvaise performance?
No, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not in his situation. Maybe after a big career like that, maybe the feeling is look a little bit boring. Maybe I don't know. That's why maybe he jumped in the new division. I don't know. But even all of this guy stay a huge fighter. So and I'm really happy to be the first guy fighting in this division with John Jones. So, and I'm sure he's a great athlete. So for me, he's gonna still really well-rounded in this division for sure.
Have you met him in person?
No, never.
How do you think his body will adjust to this new weight class? Do you think he'll be as fast, as strong, as quick as he was at light heavyweight?
Yeah, like I say, he's an athlete. He's a real athlete. When you see his family, all his brothers, he's an athlete. He is an athlete. So no worries for him. He's gonna be huge. No worries.
Over here.
Yeah.
Congratulations on getting the fight. My question would be, What problems do you think that you present to John Jones that Francis Ngannou was not going to bring up to John Jones?
Qu'est-ce que tu penses que tu pourrais présenter comme problème à John Jones que Francis ne pourrait pas lui apporter comme problème?
I know I got a good footwork at first. I think I'm a little bit more well-rounded also. So I'm look like a little bit more than as John Jones. So yes, when you have a big guy just want to kill you with one punch, it's more easier for a guy well-rounded and smart like John Jones to manage the situation. But me, I'm not like that. I like to manage also some situation. So it's gonna be good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Zero. What would you like to see Francis do? You guys have some history. Would you like to see him continue to fight MMA, or would you like to see him cross over and box?
I don't know. I'm not in his head. I don't know what is his plan. But I understand he wants to move. He wants to make some.
It all began right around 4 p.m. Eastern at the start of UFC Vegas 67 when a photo and a couple of videos circulated of just outside T-Mobile Arena. There's the photo right there of a promotion for a fight between John Jones and Cyril Gane. And as you can see right underneath the names, it was for the World Heavyweight Championship. And that sent Casey, myself, and pretty much everybody else in the MMA community into crazy town. We didn't know what was happening. We've been trying to confirm it all night. We were told it was not done yet. As you saw our own Stephen Morocco tweet out, it was a big mistake that should not have been on the billboard. But for the first time maybe in the history of MMA news, a billboard, an electronic billboard outside of an arena broke a fight and broke a massive one because Dana White just confirmed moments ago that John Jones versus Cyril Gane will, in fact, headline UFC 285 inside T-Mobile Arena on March 4th for the heavyweight title. And I bet you're thinking to yourself, what about Francis Ngannou? He's the champion. No, he's not. He is no longer the champion. Dana White also revealed Francis has been not only stripped of the title, but he is no longer on the roster. He is an outright free agent, and he is free to sign with anybody for however much money right now. No matching period, no nothing. Francis Ngannou, the best heavyweight in the world, is not in the UFC anymore. He is free to shop himself around to any organization on the planet. And on March 4th, we're going to have a new heavyweight champion. It's either the returning John Jones, the former light heavyweight champion, or it's going to be Cyril Gane. Holy cow. What a day. What chaos. So I can't talk about this by myself. So let us bring in Mr. Shaheen Al-Shadi because, I mean, Shaheen, it's 2023, man. I mean, nothing can be normal. Nothing can be easy.
No.
And this is just another example of that. What's the bigger takeaway for you? The fact that they made this fight or that Francis Ngannou is gone?
That's a great question. And you're right. There's no other way we could have started 2023 than something like this, right? Like nothing can be normal in 2023. I guess this is the tone we're going to just set all year. And let's start with something relatively unprecedented, right? Like this is a sitting UFC champion. Let's not wash over what just happened, right? A sitting UFC champion just left the promotion with the belt, essentially, right? The number one heavyweight in the world who did not lose his title in the cage is now a free agent, and he took the belt with him, essentially. And now we have this brand new fight. And also, John Jones is making his heavyweight debut. All of a sudden, we have a date for that. We've been waiting 10 years for that. It's a lot to process right now, Mike Heck. I'm not going to lie. My brain is spinning a little bit trying to understand the different machinations and takeaways from all of this. But ultimately, to answer your question, what's the biggest takeaway? To me, it feels like the fact that Francis Ngannou is a free agent, right? The fact that the number one heavyweight in the world, the baddest man on the planet, is no longer under UFC employment. We have seen this saga play out over the past year, really, ever since last January when he won that fight against Cyril Gane and then sort of went on that campaign afterwards of saying, I want to feel respected and sort of laid out the plan. This was always the plan, right? We're going to wait out the year, get surgery to repair the knee in the meantime. The contract, they always assumed, his whole team always assumed that contract is going to expire. And once it does, we're going to test our wares on the open market and see really what's out there. There's a lot of things to feel right now, right? One is just disappointment. Disappointment that it reached this point. Disappointment that the number one heavyweight in the world is no longer going to be able to compete with many of the best heavyweights in the world because there's a lot of talent out there in a lot of different organizations. But I would say there's not a lot of great heavyweight talent out there in MMA in other organizations, right? Like this is not bantamweight, this is not featherweight, this is not lightweight, this is not a division where there are really deep rosters elsewhere that we could see really awesome, interesting fights elsewhere. That's not really the case here. Number two, I mean, I'm sad that we didn't get John Jones, Francis Ngannou, frankly. That to me, when we were doing different preview series and prediction series, etc., that to me was always the biggest fight that I wanted to see in 2023. There were so many historical stakes at play there. Just it's a dream matchup, right? The baddest heavyweight in the world, this one punch monster knockout artist against John Jones, who might very well be the greatest fighter of all time. For all we know, we just haven't seen him in a long time, and this would have been such a crazy way to reintroduce him into the world of the UFC and in particular the heavyweight division. We're not going to get that anymore, so I'm disappointed by that. Another takeaway, I mean, I'm excited to finally see John Jones at heavyweight. That feels secondary right now, but that is something we've literally been hearing about for an entire decade. But that being said, my mind keeps going back to Francis, and I have a feeling that Francis is going to find out that that the grass may not be as green on the other side as he hoped it would be. Because it seems like when all of this first came up last year, right at the very peak of his powers, when he just came off that win over Cyril Gane, there seemed like there was a lot out there for him. There was the Tyson Fury fight. There was other things. I don't know if that's still out there. Maybe it is. But either way, if you're the UFC, this will go down as an all-time fumbling of what could have been a transcendent heavyweight superstar, right? Because we've said it for years. Francis Ngannou had everything, right? The look, the style, the one punch knockout power, the highlight reel. He had everything you could possibly draw up to be this superstar heavyweight champion. And the fact that that relationship was allowed to fester and really just reach the point that it did, to where, Dana White's telling us tonight that we offered him a contract that would have made him the most highly paid heavyweight in UFC history, which, what does that exactly mean? That's hard to say. But either way, the fact that Francis reached to the point where he turned something like that down, and he said he would last year, right? When he was going on this media tour last year, he said, this is not about money for me anymore. This is about respect. The fact that that relationship was allowed to fester to the point that it did, all-time fumbling of what could have been a transcendent star for the UFC, but also just kind of disappointing if you really wanted to see Francis fight these guys like the John Jones and the rest of the heavyweights that are coming up, the Sergey Pavloviches, all the talent right now at heavyweight. Heavyweight is more fun now than it has been in a long time, and the number one heavyweight in the world is just going to kind of be out there doing other stuff. That's a little disappointing.